The night market on the edge of the colony was never silent. Even in the cold season, neon lights buzzed above broken stalls, voices of merchants mixed with the smell of oil and strange spices. Humans and aliens pushed through the crowd, each searching for something cheap to fill their empty stomachs. In the middle of this chaos, a young human named Daniel walked with slow steps. He had just finished a long day at the repair docks. His hands were black with grease, his pockets almost empty. He only wanted a bowl of hot soup before heading back to his small rented room. But then he heard a soft voice. It was almost lost under the noise of the crowd. He turned his head and saw her, an alien girl, sitting on the dirty floor near the shadow of a broken neon sign. Her clothes were torn, her skin pale with a faint glow under the light. She looked weak, her eyes heavy with exhaustion. Her hands clutched a small coin pouch. And when she saw Daniel, she whispered, "I only have $2. Human, please. Let me sleep in a warm bed." Daniel froze. $2. That wasn't enough even for a cheap blanket in the colony. Let alone a bed, he thought. Maybe he misheard her. Maybe she was begging like many others in the market. But the way she looked at him, it wasn't just begging, it was desperation. People walked past her without care. Some kicked dust toward her. Others gave her cold stares. A few even laughed, calling her trash blood. Daniel felt a knot in his chest. He had seen suffering before, but something about her words held him still. He stepped closer. "Why me?" he asked, his voice low. Not wanting others to notice, her lips trembled. She lifted her pouch and opened it. Inside were just 2 thin coins shaking in her hand. "It is all I have. I do not want food. I do not want drink. I only want warmth just for one night." Daniel rubbed the back of his neck. His own money was tight. He had just enough for food and rent. Helping her meant risking his next meal, maybe even his room. But her eyes, they were not like the eyes of liars. They were heavy with pain and also with shame. "Why a bed?" he asked again, trying to understand. Her head lowered, her voice barely a whisper. "Because I am so tired. Tired of cold floors, tired of running, tired of being less than dirt just for one night. Please, human." A sudden shout cut the air. Guards walked at the far end of the market. Scanning faces with glowing visors, people moved aside quickly. Some merchants hid goods under tables. The alien girl lowered her head even more, pulling her hood over her glowing skin. Daniel noticed her trembling. Was she afraid of the guards? Why, he felt the weight of the moment. If he ignored her, she might freeze to death tonight. If he helped her, maybe he would attract trouble. He remembered his mother's words from long ago. Kindness costs more than money, but it builds more than gold. The guards turned into another alley. The danger passed for now. The girl still looked at him, her hand weakly holding out the $2 as if those coins could change her fate. Daniel slowly reached down, not to take the coins, but to help her stand. Her arm was thin, almost weightless in his grip. She stumbled but caught herself. Her eyes widened in surprise, as if she did not expect even this small act. "I don't want your money," Daniel said, his tone firm but gentle. "If you need a bed, you'll have one. Come with me." Her lips parted in shock. "But why?" "You don't know me." Daniel gave a faint, tired smile. "Because no one deserves the cold." The girl lowered her head again, but this time not in shame. It was as if she was hiding tears. She followed him through the noisy streets, staying close, her steps light, almost like a shadow. When they reached the small inn near the workers' district, the old innkeeper raised a brow. He looked at Daniel, then at the alien girl. His eyes narrowed, suspicious. Daniel quickly placed his own credits on the counter. "More than the usual fee." "2 rooms," he said firmly. "No questions," the innkeeper grunted, counted the credits, then gave him 2 rusty keys. The alien girl looked at him with wide eyes. "You gave your money?" Daniel shrugged. "Your $2 wouldn't even pay for the sheets," he said, trying to sound casual. But inside he wondered if he had just made a mistake. As they climbed the creaky stairs, Daniel couldn't help but notice again how weak she looked, as if she had walked through storms for weeks. When she opened the door to her small room, she turned back to him and whispered, "Human." "I don't even know your name, Daniel," he said simply. She nodded slowly, her voice soft. "Then thank you, Daniel. Tonight you gave me more than a bed. You gave me hope." He didn't reply. He only watched as she stepped inside. The door closed gently, but the words echoed in his chest. For the first time that night, Daniel felt that his life was about to change, and not in a way he could control, because sometimes $2 is enough to begin a story that will shake the stars. Daniel lay on his bed in the small inn, staring at the cracked ceiling. The sound of the market outside had faded. Only the hum of distant machines filled the air. He should have been asleep after such a long day at the docks, but his mind was restless. He kept thinking about the alien girl in the room next to his, her pale skin glowing faintly in the light, her weak voice offering $2 for warmth. He couldn't forget the way her eyes looked, like someone who had seen too much pain. At first, Daniel thought helping her was just a simple act of kindness. But now, in the quiet night, doubts began to creep in. Who was she really? Why was she so afraid of the guards? Why was her body so thin, yet her eyes carried secrets heavy as stone? He turned on his side, trying to force sleep. But then he heard it, a strange sound from the room beside his. It was not a cry, not a whisper. It was something metallic mixed with sharp breaths. A pulse that did not belong to any normal creature. Daniel sat up, heart pounding. He listened carefully. The sound came in waves, like gears turning slowly, then stopping, then starting again. He stood and walked quietly to the wall that separated their rooms. He pressed his ear against it. His breath caught when he heard a muffled voice. It was hers, the alien girl, speaking in a language he did not understand. Her tone was soft but urgent, as if she was pleading with someone invisible. Daniel stepped back. Should he knock? Should he check if she was all right? He hesitated, but then a sudden thud shook the wall as if she had fallen. Without thinking, Daniel rushed out into the hallway. His hand trembled as he knocked on her door. "Are you all right?" he whispered, trying not to wake the innkeeper or other guests. No answer. He knocked again, louder this time. "It's me, Daniel." A pause. Then the door creaked open just a little. Her face appeared, pale and sweating, her eyes wide with fear. "You should not be here," she whispered sharply. Daniel frowned. "I heard something. Are you hurt?" She shook her head quickly, but her hands were trembling. He noticed faint lines of light glowing under her sleeves, like circuits running beneath her skin. He froze. What was she? Before he could speak, she pulled him inside and shut the door. The room was dark except for the faint glow from her body. She collapsed on the edge of the bed, breathing heavily. Daniel's voice was low but firm. "Tell me what's happening." She looked away. Ashamed. "You will not understand, human." "You should leave me here." Daniel clenched his fists. "I used my credits to give you this room if something is wrong. I deserve to know." Her lips trembled. She raised her sleeve, showing the glowing lines on her arm. "I carry something inside me. A burden. That is why I cannot rest. That is why they hunt me." Daniel's stomach tightened. He had heard rumors before. Whispers in the colony about aliens carrying stolen tech, smuggling data, or being marked by their rulers. But to see it with his own eyes was different. "What kind of burden?" he asked slowly. She shook her head. "If I tell you, you will leave me, or worse, you will hand me to them." Daniel knelt beside her, his voice calm. "If I wanted to hand you over, I would have done it already." She studied his face for a long moment, her glowing eyes reflecting his tired ones. Finally she whispered, "It is not money they want from me. It is what is hidden in my body, information. Secrets that could break their empire." Daniel's breath caught. That explained the guards, the fear, the desperation. She was more than a beggar with $2. She was a fugitive, carrying something powerful. The girl lowered her head. "I did not mean to pull you into this. I only wanted warmth for one night. I did not expect kindness." Daniel leaned back, his mind raced. This was dangerous, too dangerous. If the guards found her here, they would arrest them both, maybe even kill him. But leaving her now felt impossible. Suddenly, heavy boots echoed in the street outside. Lights flashed through the small window. Daniel rushed to it and pulled the curtain. He saw 2 guards scanning the alley, their visors glowing. One of them stopped, turning toward the inn. The girl gasped, clutching her arm. "They are close." Daniel's heart pounded. He turned to her. "Do they know you're here?" She shook her head, fear in her voice. "Not yet. But they always find me. They always do." He made a quick choice. He grabbed her blanket and pulled it over her glowing skin. "Stay quiet," he whispered. "Don't move." No matter what, the footsteps grew louder. Coming toward the door of the inn, Daniel felt sweat drip down his back. He had wanted only soup and sleep tonight. But now he stood in the middle of something far bigger. The girl looked at him, her voice trembling. "Why are you helping me? You could still walk away." Daniel swallowed hard. "Because I know what cold feels like," he said softly. "And I won't let them drag you back into it." The sound of knocking thundered through the inn. The guards had arrived, and Daniel realized his life would never be the same again. The night did not end with peace. The guards had knocked on the inn's door, questioned the innkeeper, and searched the ground floor. Daniel and the alien girl remained silent in her dark room, hardly breathing. Every footstep outside felt like thunder in their chests. Finally, the guards left, their voices fading into the night. But the silence that followed was heavy. Daniel leaned against the wall, his shirt damp with sweat. He had never been this close to danger before, not even when he worked near unstable fuel tanks at the docks. The alien girl sat quietly on the bed, her hands clutched tightly together. Her faint glowing skin made her look almost ghost-like in the dim room. Daniel studied her carefully. He wanted to ask many questions, but only one came out. "What's your name?" She looked at him in surprise, as if the question was something rare. Her lips parted slowly. "Lyra," she said softly. "My name is Lyra." Daniel nodded, repeating it in his head. It felt strange, but also familiar, almost human. "Lyra," he said again. "You told me you carry secrets inside you. What kind of secrets make soldiers hunt you across colonies?" Lyra lowered her head. For a moment she did not speak. Daniel thought she would refuse, but then, in a voice heavy with sorrow, she began. "I was born in a city of light far from here, my people. They were once proud. We served the High Council. We kept their machines alive. We made their ships strong. We believed in them." Her voice broke, her glowing eyes darkening. "But then the Council betrayed us. They took our children for experiments. They burned our homes. And anyone who spoke against them was silenced." Daniel felt his chest tighten. He had heard rumors of corruption in alien governments, but hearing it from someone who lived through it was different. Lyra lifted her sleeve again, showing the glowing lines under her skin. "They forced me into their labs. They placed codes inside me, codes I did not ask for. I escaped before they could finish, but now, I am a living vault. Inside me are files that could prove every crime they committed, files that could destroy them." Her hands trembled. "That is why they will never stop hunting me, because as long as I live, the truth lives too." Daniel sat in silence, his mind raced with questions. How could one girl carry the downfall of an empire? Why bring her to this poor colony? Why beg for just a bed if she held something so valuable? Lyra must have seen the doubt in his eyes, because she whispered, "You think I am lying, don't you? You think I am just another runaway?" Daniel shook his head slowly. "No, I think you're telling me more than I should even know, and that makes me wonder why." Her eyes met his, sharp and searching. "Because you did not turn me away when I had nothing but $2? Because you looked at me like I was alive, not trash? That is more than anyone has done in years." Her words struck him harder than he expected. Daniel turned away, rubbing his tired eyes. He had tried all his life to stay invisible, to survive quietly in the shadows of bigger men and bigger powers. Yet in one night, by helping her, he had stepped into a story that could reach the stars. The room fell quiet again, only the creak of the old inn walls breaking the silence. Daniel thought she might finally sleep, but then he heard her murmur something strange. Her words were soft, not human language. It was a whisper. "Smooth and rhythmic, Lyra?" Daniel asked her, "What are you saying?" She blinked and stopped, as if caught. "It is a prayer," she admitted. "Old words from my people, words for protection. Even when no one listens anymore." Daniel leaned back, whispering to himself. Whispers of the past. Her gaze softened. "Yes, whispers, that is all I carry now. A past no one believes and a future no one wants." Suddenly, a crash echoed outside the window. Both of them tensed. Daniel quickly moved to the curtain and peeked. A drunk merchant had dropped his crate. Nothing more, but the reminder of danger was clear. They were being watched, maybe not tonight, maybe not tomorrow, but someone would find them again. Lyra sighed deeply, lying back on the bed. "You should leave in the morning, forget me." "Forget everything," Daniel looked at her, anger flashing in his voice. "And let them take you? After I've seen this? After I know the truth?" She shook her head. "You don't understand, Daniel. They will kill anyone who stands beside me." "You cannot fight them." Daniel clenched his fists. "Maybe not, but I can't pretend anymore that you're just another stranger." Lyra turned her face away, hiding the tears that slipped down her glowing cheeks. She whispered so softly he almost didn't hear. "No one has ever said that to me before." The night dragged on, neither of them sleeping. Daniel stared at the shadows crawling across the walls, his mind filled with questions and fear. Lyra whispered old words to herself. carrying the weight of her broken world. When the first light of dawn crept into the room, Daniel realized something. This girl, with only $2 and whispers of the past, had already tied his fate to hers, and there was no turning back, because once you hear the whispers of the past, you cannot unhear them. The morning sun rose weakly over the colony, washing the sky in dull gray light. Daniel stood at the window of his small room, watching people hurry through the streets below. Merchants opened their stalls, guards marched in pairs, and the world seemed normal. But inside Daniel's chest, nothing felt normal anymore. Behind the thin wall, Lyra remained silent. She had not slept. Daniel knew that much. He had heard her whispering through the night, old prayers and broken words. It was not the sound of peace, it was the sound of someone waiting for doom. A knock rattled his door. Daniel turned sharply. His heart jumped. But it was only the innkeeper. The old man's face looked tense. "They came again," he muttered. "The guards asking questions, they showed your face?" "And hers too." Daniel's blood ran cold. "Did you tell them?" The innkeeper shook his head quickly. "No, but they'll be back. They said a patrol is sweeping every street. You should leave now, boy. Before they drag you both away." Daniel nodded, shoved a few things into his worn bag, and hurried to Lyra's room. She was already sitting on the bed, her small pouch of coins in her lap, as if she had known this moment would come. "They're here for you," Daniel said, breathless. "We have to go." Lyra looked at him with calm, tired eyes. "I told you this would happen." "Yes, you did," Daniel snapped. "But I'm still not letting them take you." For the first time, she gave a faint, almost broken smile. She rose to her feet and pulled her hood over her head. "Then we run." The innkeeper's warning was right. The moment they stepped out of the inn, Daniel saw the glint of armor in the crowd. Guards scanning faces, shouting orders. Their visors glowed red when they spotted them. "There." One of the guards roared. Daniel grabbed Lyra's hand. "Move!" They pushed through the market, knocking over baskets of fruit, shoving past startled merchants. Voices shouted behind them. Boots pounded against the dirt roads. Daniel's lungs burned as he ran. But adrenaline drove him forward. Lyra stumbled, weak from hunger. Daniel pulled her up without slowing. "Stay with me," he yelled. The guards fired stun bolts, blue light cutting through the air. Sparks exploded against walls and stalls. People screamed and scattered. The chase was no longer quiet, it was chaos. Daniel led Lyra into a narrow alley, ducking behind broken pipes and piles of scrap metal. They paused only for a breath. Daniel's heart pounded like a hammer in his chest. He looked at Lyra, her face pale, sweat dripping. "You can't run much longer," he said. Fear in his voice, she shook her head. "I can still move, but they won't stop." Daniel gritted his teeth. He knew the alleys better than most. He had worked here for years, repairing ships and dragging parts through these same narrow passages. If they could reach the docks, maybe, just maybe, they could hide among the freight ships. He grabbed her hand again. "This way." They darted through another alley, but as they turned a corner, a guard appeared, blocking their path, his weapon raised, visor glowing red. Daniel's stomach clenched. He moved without thinking. He grabbed a metal pipe lying near the wall and swung it with all his strength. The weapon cracked against the guard's helmet. The man staggered, fell to his knees. Daniel hit him again until the guard collapsed. Lyra's eyes widened. "You fought for me." Daniel threw the pipe aside, panting. "We don't have time for speeches. Keep moving." They sprinted again, the sound of more boots closing in. Daniel could hear the guards shouting into comms, calling reinforcements. At last, the smell of oil and smoke filled his nose. He knew they were close to the docks. Massive freighters loomed in the distance, cranes lifting cargo. Engines roared like thunder. If they could just blend in, they might disappear, but fate was cruel. The moment they stepped into the open yard, a squad of guards spotted them, blasters aimed. "Red dots glowing on their chests, hands up!" A guard shouted. "Now." Daniel froze, his mind racing. Lyra stood beside him, trembling, but then she did something strange. She raised her glowing hands slowly, her voice sharp and strong for the first time. "Stay behind me," she whispered to Daniel. Before he could ask why, her skin flared with bright light. The glowing lines across her arms pulsed like fire. A wave of energy burst outward, knocking the closest guards off their feet. Their weapons clattered to the ground. Daniel stared in shock. What are you?" Lyra staggered, the glow fading quickly. She almost collapsed, but Daniel caught her. she whispered, voice weak. This is the burden I carry. Power I cannot control. That is why they want me alive. Not dead. The remaining guards regrouped, shouting orders. Daniel knew they had seconds before more arrived. He spotted a small cargo freighter with its ramp still open. Workers loading crates. That ship, he said firmly. We get on it. Or we're done. He lifted Lyra onto his shoulder, ignoring her weak protests, and ran toward the freighter. Blaster fire scorched the ground behind them. Workers shouted in confusion, but Daniel didn't stop. He sprinted up the ramp, heart pounding. The moment they reached inside, he slammed a crate against the controls. The ramp closed with a hiss, cutting off the guards' shouts. The freighter's engines roared louder, ready for departure. Daniel dropped Lyra gently against a wall. Gasping for breath, his whole body shook. His mind screamed that he had just crossed a line he could never return from. Lyra looked at him, her glowing eyes filled with both fear and gratitude. You saved me again, she whispered. Daniel leaned back against the crates, sweat dripping down his face. No, he said with a shaky breath. I think I just doomed us both. The freighter shuddered as it prepared to leave the docks. The chase was over, at least for now. But what awaited them beyond this ship was a storm far greater than either of them could imagine. The cargo freighter rumbled as it left the docks, engines roaring deep into the night sky. Daniel sat on the cold floor of the storage bay. His chest still heaving, sweat dripped down his face. His hands shook, not from the run, but from what he had just seen. Lyra leaned weakly against a crate. Her hood had fallen back, and the faint glow of her skin flickered like dying fire. She looked fragile, close to collapse. Yet Daniel could not forget the moment she had unleashed that burst of energy. It was not something a normal alien could do. It was something powerful. Dangerous. For a long time neither spoke. Only the sound of cargo shifting and engines humming filled the silence. Daniel wanted to ask, but he didn't know where to begin. Finally, he broke the quiet. You said you carry secrets, he muttered, his voice low. But what I saw back there, that wasn't just secrets, that was power. So what's the truth, Lyra? What are you? Her glowing eyes lifted slowly, tired but steady. I told you before. I am a vault, but not only for words, for technology too, Daniel frowned. Technology? Inside you? She nodded, her hands trembling as she pulled back her sleeve again. The glowing lines beneath her skin pulsed faintly. These are not veins, human, they are circuits. Woven into me when I was still a child. I am part machine, part flesh. They turned me into a living container. Daniel's stomach twisted. He had seen machines fused with flesh in old war stories, but never like this. Never so human. Why? He asked. Why make you like this? Lyra closed her eyes. Her voice carried both shame and anger. Because my people trusted the High Council. We believed in them. They said they wanted peace. They said they needed volunteers for research. But it was all lies. They wanted to hide their crimes, and so they placed the evidence inside living bodies. Children who would never survive if they tried to resist. Her voice cracked. I was one of those children. I survived. But many did not. Daniel felt his chest tighten. He stared at her with disbelief and pity. So, inside you, is proof? Lyra nodded, her face pale. Yes, files of experiments, lists of names, coordinates of mass graves, orders signed by their leaders. All of it lives inside me. That is why they hunt me. That is why they cannot let me die, because if my body is destroyed, the files vanish forever. Daniel rubbed his forehead. His mind struggled to take in the weight of her words. This wasn't just about a girl with $2. This was about corruption across galaxies. Empires that thrived on lies, and you came here? He asked. To this colony. Why? Lyra's lips trembled. Because I heard. Humans do not turn away the helpless, because I thought maybe one of you would listen. Daniel laughed bitterly. Most wouldn't. You were lucky it was me. Lyra gave him a faint smile. Yes, lucky. Or maybe fate. The freighter jolted, the lights flickered. Daniel tensed, worried it was another patrol, but then the ship steadied. The crew outside shouted commands, too busy with departure to notice stowaways hidden among crates. Daniel turned back to Lyra, his voice softer now. So what happens if the files are opened? If someone gets the truth? Lyra's eyes darkened. The council falls, entire systems will rise against them. The balance of power will shift, wars will burn across the stars, but also, maybe freedom for my people. Daniel's throat felt dry. He realized the truth. He wasn't just hiding a runaway girl. He was protecting a weapon. A truth bomb that could tear the galaxy apart. Why tell me this? He asked finally. Why trust me? Lyra hesitated, then whispered, Because you already chose, Daniel. You could have walked away when I offered $2. But you didn't. You could have left me in the inn. But you stayed. You already carry my fate. Whether you want to or not. Her words cut deep. Daniel stared at her, unable to answer. For a moment, silence returned, then Lyra shifted, her body shaking. She placed her hand on his arm, her skin warm but faintly buzzing with energy. I don't want to drag you into this, human, but I also don't want to be alone anymore. Daniel looked at her hand, then into her glowing eyes. Something inside him hardened. He realized he was already too deep, already a part of this story, whether he liked it or not. Her fight was his now before he could speak. The freighter's alarm blared. A harsh voice echoed through the ship's comms. Unregistered life signs detected in cargo bay. All security units, respond. Daniel cursed under his breath. They found us. Lyra's eyes widened in fear. Her hand tightened on his arm. Then we run again. But Daniel shook his head, his jaw set firm. No. This time we fight. The bay doors clattered open. Heavy footsteps approached. Daniel picked up a metal rod from the floor. His heart pounded. He glanced at Lyra, weak but still glowing faintly. For the first time since this began, Daniel felt no doubt. He understood the hidden truth. Lyra wasn't just a fugitive. She was hope wrapped in scars, and now he was the only shield she had. And he would not let them take her. Not tonight, not ever. The alarm screamed across the freighter, red lights flashing in the cargo bay. Daniel's grip tightened around the metal rod in his hand. His breath came fast. His eyes locked on the bay door where heavy boots pounded closer and closer. Lyra leaned against a crate, her skin glowing faint but steady. Her eyes were wide with fear. But there was also a strange trust in them, she whispered. They know. They will never stop, Daniel swallowed hard. Then let's make them regret chasing us. The bay doors slid open and 4 armored guards stormed in. Their visors glowed red, weapons raised. Hands where we can see them, one barked. Daniel didn't wait. He swung the rod with all his strength, smashing it against the first guard's helmet. Sparks burst. The man staggered backward. Another fired. Blue stun bolts crackled through the air. Daniel rolled behind a crate. His chest pounding, Lyra gasped, clutching her arm. The glowing lines beneath her skin flickered brighter. Daniel saw her trembling, her body straining. No, he whispered. Don't burn yourself out again, but she ignored him. She raised her hand weakly and a wave of energy pulsed outward. The blast knocked 2 guards off their feet. Their weapons skidding across the floor, Daniel leapt forward, smashing the last guard's wrist with the rod. The weapon fell. He kicked it aside and shoved the man hard into a wall. The guard slumped unconscious. The cargo bay fell silent except for the alarm. Daniel bent down, breathing heavily. His arms shook, but they had won. For now he turned to Lyra. Her body sagged, her glow dimming. He rushed to her side, holding her steady. You can't keep doing that, he said sharply. Lyra gave a weak smile. It's all I have. Before Daniel could respond, the freighter shook violently. A deep boom echoed through the hull. Both of them fell to the floor. What now? Daniel muttered. He dragged himself to a small window on the bay door. His blood ran cold. Outside, a patrol ship hovered, sleek and black, cannons glowing with deadly light. They had been tracked. Another blast struck the freighter. Metal groaned. Alarms screamed louder. Crew members shouted through the halls. Daniel could hear them scrambling to return fire. We'll be torn apart, Lyra whispered. Her eyes wide with despair, Daniel clenched his jaw. He refused to give up. Not now. Not after everything. He scanned the bay quickly, searching for something, anything. Then his eyes landed on a small maintenance shuttle locked to the side of the cargo bay. That's our way out, he said firmly. Lyra followed his gaze, her breath caught. That shuttle is tiny. It won't outrun a patrol ship, Daniel smirked. Despite the danger, maybe not with skill, but maybe with luck and human stubbornness. He pulled her toward the shuttle. Ignoring her protests, his heart thundered as he slammed the override panel. The hatch hissed open. He shoved her inside first, then followed. The interior was cramped, built only for short trips. Daniel jumped into the pilot's seat, his hands flying across controls he barely knew. The ship hummed to life. Outside, the patrol ship fired again. The freighter shook violently. Crates toppled in the cargo bay. Alarms roared. Daniel gritted his teeth, slamming the launch sequence. The shuttle detached with a loud clang. Metal arms released it, and then silence for a moment. They drifted in open space, small and fragile. Then the patrol ship spotted them. Its cannons shifted, glowing with deadly light. Daniel slammed the throttle. The shuttle lurched forward. Engines whining, he had no training, no map, only instinct. He weaved between drifting cargo containers and scrap. Each blast from the patrol ship narrowly missing them. Lyra clung to the side rail, her eyes wide. "You'll kill us." Daniel barked a sharp laugh, wild with adrenaline. "Better I kill us than let them catch us." The patrol ship closed in. Faster. Its weapons locked again. Daniel pulled the shuttle hard left, scraping against the side of a drifting container. Sparks flew. Alarms flashed red on the control panel. But the sudden turn threw off the patrol's aim. Their blast struck the cargo instead. Exploding in a flash of fire, shrapnel scattered. The shockwave pushed the shuttle away, spinning. Daniel fought the controls. His teeth gritted. "Come on, hold together!" Lyra reached out, her glowing hand brushing against the panel. The circuit sparked strangely, as if responding to her touch. Suddenly the shuttle steadied. The engines roared louder, faster. Daniel's eyes widened. "What did you just do?" Her voice shook. "I told you. I am part machine. I can connect, guide the systems." For the first time, Daniel felt hope with Lyra's touch. The shuttle became faster, more alive, together. Human instinct and alien power kept them ahead of the patrol fire. They darted through broken satellites, twisted wrecks, and fields of space debris. The patrol ship followed, blasting everything in their path. But the shuttle was small, quick, and unpredictable. Finally, Daniel spotted a dense asteroid field ahead, shadows of giant rocks drifting slowly in the dark. He grinned. "There's our cover," Lyra's eyes widened. "It's suicide." "We'll be crushed, or we'll live," Daniel shot back. Pushing the shuttle full speed, they dove into the asteroid field. The shuttle weaved between massive stones. Engines screaming, the patrol ship tried to follow. But its size slowed it, its cannons fired. But the blast smashed into rock instead. Daniel's heart raced, his vision blurred with focus. Lyra's hand stayed on the controls, guiding the shuttle. Together, they dodged death again and again, until finally, silence. The patrol ship broke off. Unable to follow deeper into the field, Daniel let out a long breath. His body trembling, he leaned back, his hands shaking. "We made it." Lyra sat beside him, pale and exhausted. But a faint smile touched her lips. "You risked everything." For me again, Daniel met her eyes. Voice steady. "We're in this together now, Lyra." No turning back. The shuttle drifted deeper into the shadows of the asteroids. Safe for the moment, but both of them knew this was only the beginning. The fire had not ended the chase. It had only lit the path to a far greater war. The shuttle drifted quietly in the shadow of the asteroid field. The engines hummed low, cracked panels sparking weakly. Daniel sat in the pilot's seat, his head resting back, every muscle in his body aching. Lyra lay stretched on the narrow bench behind him, her breathing shallow but steady. The faint glow of her skin flickered like a dying lantern. She looked so fragile now, nothing like the fierce light that had burst from her in the cargo bay. For a long time, silence filled the small shuttle. Daniel stared at the endless dark outside, stars scattered like cold fire. He should have felt relief they had escaped, at least for now, but instead his chest was heavy. He turned to look at her. "You can rest now. We're safe." Lyra's lips curved faintly, her eyes opening just enough to meet his. "Safe, for a moment. But not forever, they will never stop." Daniel sighed. "Then we don't stop either." His voice carried a quiet determination. "I don't care how many ships they send. You won't face them alone." Her eyes softened, glowing faintly. "Why, Daniel? You could still leave me. You owe me nothing." Daniel leaned forward, his jaw tight. "Because when you whispered to me in that market, 'I only have $2, human,' I saw more than just a girl begging. I saw someone the galaxy had thrown away, and I know what that feels like. No one deserves to be left in the cold." Tears slipped down Lyra's glowing cheeks. She tried to hide them, but her voice trembled. "You don't understand what this means. In my people's stories, no one ever helps us. No one risks themselves for us. We are shadows, disposable, yet you gave me more than warmth, you gave me trust." Daniel reached for the emergency blanket folded under the seat. He wrapped it gently around her shoulders. Tucking it close, she shivered at his touch, but then leaned into the comfort. For the first time, her body relaxed. Her eyes closed slowly. But before sleep pulled her under, she whispered, "All my life I ran from place to place. Cold floors, empty alleys, hunted like prey, but tonight, in this broken shuttle for the first time, I feel like I have a home." Daniel's throat tightened, he whispered back, "Then this is your home, as long as I breathe." The quiet hum of the shuttle wrapped around them. Time passed slowly. Daniel stayed awake, watching over her. His mind replayed everything, the market, the guards, the chase, the fire. Every moment could have ended them. But somehow they had survived together hours later. Lyra stirred awake, her glow brighter now. Her strength returning, she sat up, looking at him. "Daniel, in my people's tradition, sharing a bed is not about desire. It is about trust. It means we give our lives to one another. No secrets. No walls." Daniel blinked, unsure. "And you want that with me?" Lyra nodded slowly, her eyes steady. "You already risked your life for me more than once. You already gave me warmth when I had nothing, so yes, Daniel, I trust you." He felt something stir deep in his chest, a mix of fear, pride, and something softer. He stood, moved to the bench beside her, and sat down. The small shuttle barely had space, but when she leaned gently against him, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. For the first time since this began, silence was not heavy. It was peaceful, Lyra whispered. $2 could not buy safety, not food, not freedom. But your kindness gave me something greater. A place where I belong. Daniel smiled faintly, his hand resting over hers. "Then you're not just a fugitive anymore, Lyra. You're family." Her glowing eyes widened. Shimmering with emotion, a soft laugh escaped her lips. "Broken, but real, a family," she repeated as if tasting the word for the first time. "I never thought I would hear that again." The shuttle drifted deeper into the asteroid shadows, hidden from patrols carried only by the hope of survival. Two souls, once strangers, now bound by trust. Daniel closed his eyes at last, exhaustion pulling him down. Lyra rested her head on his shoulder, her breathing even, her glow steady. For the first time in years, both of them slept without fear, not as a runaway and a poor mechanic, but as something far stronger. Companions who had chosen each other in the coldest corners of the galaxy. And though the war against the Council loomed, though the galaxy still burned with corruption and lies, one truth had already been written. Kindness had turned $2 into something priceless, a bed of trust, strong enough to defy the stars.